solution so that this does not happen again. Then, of course, it's very important and will make your life much easier if you are able to link access to roles and to the life cycle of roles as well. And I think there are quite a few tracks here in that conference that will target this subject. So the focus of this presentation is, of course, about the integrated view on GRC across both business applications like SAP and other systems in the enterprise. So what are some common challenges that we find when we look at identities from a GRC perspective? So, and you all know the situation. We have all these different target groups, the different business people, the CFO, the auditors, the CEO. We have the the business leaders, the line of business managers, and they all have different requirements. And of course, this doesn't show completely. And of course, they cannot do with just one standardized system. They have very specific requirements in their individual department. So they all create their little kingdoms and their little very specific environments with their own user identity structure, etc. And all this has to be managed. So after all, then the auditor has to review all these little different kingdoms and has to review all the different GRC concepts and different frameworks that are applied, and has to make sure that there are no conflicts between these isolated departments, and that there are no SOD conflicts between a user in the one area and in the other area. And you find this picture not only within different departments of an organization. This also happens if you acquire another company, and after an acquisition, of course, you have separated systems and have to work on a harmonization between these systems. So at the end, what we have created in enterprises is a world that is by far too complex to being efficiently monitored and reviewed. There is a huge lack of transparency, and the question really is, are you able to manage the risk, especially the risk associated with access in such an environment? And however, access and access certification is only one aspect in such an audit and in making sure that you meet the IT control points. But the question really is, what is your overall risk here? What is do you have transparency, and can you manage the risk? So let's have a look at the SAP world and some common scenarios here. So the overall picture, of course, within SAP, we usually have a very well managed environment. Usually, because SAP is responsible for your core systems, for your business critical applications. You have invested in making sure you've set up the business processes correctly. You manage your users efficiently, etc. But there is quite a gap between the business applications on the one hand and other applications and other IT infrastructure components in the rest of the enterprise, and there is rarely any linkage between them or harmonization between them. And moreover, when you look at your SAP environment, what typically happens over time is that you have to add, to change, to modify. So you cannot start on a green field over and over again. So what you create is a quite heterogeneous SAP environment as well. So the situation really is that usually we find a multitude of distinct SAP instances with all their different user IDs, passwords, processes, policies, etc. And we also find that business processes are not only managed within the SAP systems, they are also managed in other systems of record. And of course, there is not really a central management and control of the access rights. So what pain points does this typical situation create? Usually, of course, as one consequence, the administration of all these user rights is very complex and complicated, and often comes along with duplicated efforts and still a lot of inconsistencies in the enterprise. Also, it's almost impossible to coordinate the different systems of record of SAP and non-SAP. And of course, all the typical problems with user logon that we know since ages of reduced effectiveness, reduced productivity of the users, high cost in the help desks, etc. But there are, of course, a lot of opportunities in there as well. There is the opportunity to clean up all these discrepancies, to clean up your processes, to create a integrated view of SAP and non-SAP environments, and to define an enterprise role model across all systems that then also helps you to avoid SOD conflicts. And of course, with implementing a central system to manage all your user rights and to manage access, you can then streamline all the access processes, increase transparency, and make the logon processes much easier. So quite common scenarios when we extend this to the aspect of GRC, of course, the situation is a little bit different. We do have tools to manage to manage the SAP environment with regards to GRC, and of course you use other tools for your other systems, and these tools do not talk to each other, so you have again different worlds with regards to GRC, but at the same time you want to leverage all the investment that you made into your SAP environment. So usually you well defined all the processes, you defined the roles, and you would like to reuse all this intelligence in the rest of your enterprise and propagate the roles from SAP to the rest of the enterprise, or propagate access rights that you've granted in SAP in the same way then in the rest of the enterprise. The pain points, quite obviously, if there is no enterprise-wide provisioning capability, then you have also limited capability to verify and also to report on the user provisioning activities. You cannot enforce SOD rules across the complete enterprise. You have your SOD rules in SAP, but what about those outside of SAP and in other systems? And you cannot really monitor critical identity-related security incidents that happen, because what usually happens is that you check each domain individually, and you check the SAP ERP system, and they say, yeah, checked, okay, everything's going all right, everything is set up according to our regulations. And then you check Salesforce, and they say, yes, checked, everything's all right, every user has just the rights that he needs. And you look into Oracle Financials, and yes, checkbox, cleared, everything okay. But what about the interdependencies between these systems? Do you monitor these as well? This very often does not happen. Or another example that we have here is that very common situation, you have implemented SAP HR in one country in your enterprise, PeopleSoft in another one, and then there